Hello, my friends, and welcome to this second episode of 3DS Cast. In this episode, I'm Brian Rubin, by the way, your host. In this episode, I wanted to cover the 3DS itself. Basically, ask the question why? Why the 3DS? Why cover this now defunct, officially defunct gaming platform? I'm trying not to pause. I'm trying to pause less. I noticed in the first episode, I paused a lot more. I paused a lot. Excuse me. I'm trying to pause less. So I will try to get better at that as I go. I'm not used to this monologuing thing. But if I do pause, it might be because I'm catching my breath or, you know, uh, you know, whatever. So, like that. To- anyway, so I want to talk about the 3DS in this episode and why I wanted to cover it. If you're unaware, I don't know why you'd be unaware listening to this, but the 3DS was basically had a 9-year run. It started in 2011 with the original model, and then a year later, the XL came out, the original 3DS XL, and then about a year later, I think the 2DS came out, and that was the one that doesn't fold. People affectionately call that one the doorstop, but it is much beloved. It's wonderful. We could talk about that. I actually plan to have an episode later as to the benefits of a 2DS and why you should buy one if you want to enter the ecosphere. And then a year after that, I think the new, quote unquote, the new models came out. They actually called them the new Nintendo 3DS, the new Nintendo 3DS XL, and then the last model to come out was the new 2DS, the new 2DS XL. That was the last one to come out, and also the worst of them, I believe. Um, it had a 9-year run, basically, officially from 2011 to 2020 when Nintendo stopped making it. So even into the Switch's lifespan, there was still life in the 3DS. There were still games coming out. But I wanted to talk about why specifically I love the 3DS, why I feel like it's worth covering, and why I think, in my opinion, it is the best pure handheld you can still get today. First issue I want to talk about is the portability. Now, sure, you can get a Switch too. You can get a Steam Deck. You can get um I can't remember the name of the other ones, but there are some big Windows and Linux-based portable PCs. I don't think things like that are portable. I they're not. They're huge. I have a Switch. It's not very portable. It's huge. I can't just throw it in a bag and go. I got to put it in a case and yada yada. It is a huge thing. It's God, the old Atari Lynx is almost as big as the Switch. Or roughly they're not that far apart in size, I think. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Switch 1 or 2 or the Steam Deck or the Rocks, I think they're called Rocks. I can't remember all of them. There's so many of them. I don't think it's very portable. I don't think they are very portable. And so one of the benefits of of the 3DS line, taking out the original 2DS because it doesn't fold, is the foldability. It folds. It's a clamshell device. It folds. And there are other devices that do that. The original Game Boy Advance SP. There are Android devices now that do this, that copy the look of the SP, the Advance SP, and the 3DS that fold and have the clamshell design. But I think the 3DS, if we're just sticking to the 3DS has a portability because of its clamshell design that really is unmatched. Not only that, because of its clamshell design, it's a mostly mostly well built machine. Except for the hinge problem of the original 3DS XL, and the new 2DS XL. They're very sturdy and well built machines that will take a little bit of pounding in your bag or in your pocket. So they are very well built for the most part, very sturdy designs. Of course, they fail. They're getting older. Of course, they fail, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the inherent portability in the design, which I think makes them special. I love carrying around my 3DS. I have a case for it and a shell for it. I keep it very protected, but it's still, because I always have a backpack, very easy to carry around, doesn't take up a ton of space, very easy to pull out and play just at a moment's notice. You don't have to wait for a long boot up or anything. Even with my large 128 gig card, it only takes, a few seconds to boot. It's never that long. And the games themselves are very quick to load. So I think the inherent portability of 3DS, and I will say, I think the 2DS, the original 2DS, is still a very portable design. It's not very big. It's smaller than a Switch, for example. You can put it in a case, very easy to carry around. It's not very large. Uh, I think I would say the 2DS is also a very portable design, but the 3DS with its clamshell is a very good, very portable design. Now I'm just gonna side note here. If you have a 3DS and you haven't gotten screen protectors for them, please do that. Because I think on some of the models, the top screen will scratch the bottom screen a bit if there are no screen protectors on it. I've read about this. So if you haven't gotten screen protectors for your 3DS, please do immediately. Um, you got to take care of these things because they're going up in price and they fail. All electronics fails at some point. You want to take care of your babies. So I think again, portability is one big reason to love the 3DS and why I want to cover it. The library. We're just going to talk about the library for what the native 3DS can cover. So it can play 3D. It can play 3DS games, and it can play DS games. And because of its heritage with the DS, which could play Game Boy Advance games natively, because the first DS had a Game Boy Advance port. 3DS through the Virtual Console can also play Game Boy Advance games natively. So you're talking about a library with thousands and thousands of titles. I'm looking at Wikipedia for my source. There are 1,800 roughly 3DS games, and there are roughly 3,300 DS games. Even if you take shovelware and things out of that, you're still talking hundreds, if not thousands, of quality titles. And a lot of these titles haven't made their way elsewhere. They're not on the Switch. You can only play them through emulation if you're on another device. So, uh, and we won't get into the legalities of that. So, just looking at the pure library that you can play on a vanilla 3DS is hundreds of amazing games, thousands of games. Just, I feel the only console library that bests it is the PlayStation 2. I think I don't think there's another console that has a better library than than the 3DS. It's just, and that's one of the reasons I fell in love with it because like the PlayStation 2, it was a time of experimentation for both the 3DS and the 3DS. It was a time of trying all these different things. You could play strategy games. You could play you could play war games. You could play flight games. There's pet games. There are the variety of the library of the DS and 3DS is utterly astounding. Absolutely astounding. I think the only way you could do better, like I said, is the PlayStation 2 or the PC, really, for sheer depth and variety. I don't think especially for a handheld, I don't think you can do better. No, I don't think anything bests it. I mean, as the Switch goes on, it's probably coming close, but I think because of the dual screen nature of the DS and the 3DS, you can do things on that machine that are harder to do on a single screen device. So, the library of the 3DS, another reason I love it and I want to celebrate it and cover it because you can find just about any type of game on this thing, like I said, and it's amazing. But the first game I got when I got my 3DS XL was a DS strategy game based on the PC series Age of Empires. I did not know there was a turn based version of Age of Empires on the DS, but there is. And there's also Age of Mythology. And there's also, like, if you're talking just series that were on the PC, there's Sim City, there's Anno, there's IL2. There are all these games that made their way to the DS and 3DS because of how amazing the system is and its touchscreen and everything. Like SimCities Creators, I believe it's called, and the DS is an amazing city builder, for example. There's an IL-2 game that I've been enjoying playing on the DS, um, which is a really fun flight game. There's a I think it's called Panzer Tactics, which is a war game, very similar to Panzer General on the DS. So just the DS alone, but also the 3DS has an amazing library, just unbeatable in terms of handhelds, I think. Especially when you add on native Game Boy Advance support through its virtual console. Oh my God, just an astounding library, absolutely astounding. So that's another reason I want to celebrate the thing. I also think this might be one of the last consoles that had character, that had a soul. Because if you've never played a 3DS, why are you listening to this if you've never played in a 3DS? But if, let's just say, for the sake of argument, you've never played in a 3DS before. Excuse me, the 3DS has custom themes with their own background music. Um, when you get a new game on the 3DS through the eShop or however, excuse me, you're it appears on your home screen as a present, and you can you're unwrapping a present. Um, the 3DS had a thing, and this also goes into unique features called Street Pass, which does not exist anywhere else. What that means, if you're unaware, is if you walked by someone else who had a closed sleeping 3DS, it would exchange information for various games. So that person would show up in your Me Plaza, which you could use for other things like games and whatnot. But it would also exchange games for like things like Tamagotchi Life and Animal Crossing and Yokai Watch 2 and yada yada yada. Just a lovely little feature that just adds so much character and soul to this console. This console is just it's a little piece of joy. And because you can have unique themes with their own unique music, you can make your own themes if you want to. You can make custom splash screens when it boots up. Um, and with the 3D with the Street Pass, excuse me, you just have basically a console that is yours, that is an extension of yourself and becomes a part of you that they lost with the Switch. The Switch has this bare bones interface that is so corporate, just so corporate. It just makes me sad because you open up the 3DS or 2DS and you turn it on, and it's just a little slice of joy with its themes and its music, presence, and Street Pass and everything. No other machine has this level of personality, has this level of joy, I don't think. Like some other machines come close, like the Xbox 360s, their menu has a lot of personality to it. But for sheer personality, I don't think, and the Wii was like this also. If I never had a Wii U, so I don't know. But I have a Wii, and I know the Wii was like this also, just full of personality and charm. And it had a soul, different channels and everything. And the 3DS is very similar. So I think that's another reason I love the 3DS and I want to celebrate the 3DS with this podcast is that it's maybe the last console, especially the last handheld, but maybe the last console that had just a soul, had charm, had personality that I don't think anything else has to its extent. So another reason I want to cover the 3DS, moving on from that, is the 3DS is going through something of a resurgence. If you look it up on YouTube, there are tons of videos talking about this. I think there are a few reasons why it's going through a resurgence. One, I'm an older gamer. I'm in my 50s, but I think a lot of gamers of a certain age that were kids when this came out, um, either they didn't have one or they had one and because they were a kid, they didn't take very good care of it. And so it got broken or what have you. A lot of those kids are now adults with their own income and they want a slice of that nostalgia. They want a slice of that bygone era And it's happening with younger people I've noticed. Like I have a friend who has a 19, I think now, or 20-year-old daughter, and she's buying things from the 90s, digital cameras and things from the early 2000s, like original iPods. Like, I think people are getting tired of their phones, I say as I pick my phone up. I love my phone. Don't get me wrong. I love my phone. But I think people are getting tired of the phone having to draw you in, all the notifications, all all those things. I think people are getting tired of things like doom scrolling. I think people are seeking out a little more simplicity, a little more focus. And so I think because of that, the 3DS is having a resurgence, a renaissance, if you will, because not only are people of a certain age reacquiring or rediscovering it, younger people are finding out about it. I'm noticing on YouTube, for example, and discovering it as well, and discovering what a joyful device it is. Joyful device is one of the reasons I love it because it's so joyful. And I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it is because it's going through a resurgence. More people are talking about it, more people are discovering it. And I thought that I want to be a part of that conversation. I want to, I want to help people discover this thing. I want to help people find the joy that the 3DS offers that few other devices can. So that's another reason I want to talk about the 3DS is just how joyful this thing still is and what a unique place it has in technology today. Because yes, you can game on your phone. Yes, you can game on your tablet. Um, I have an Android gaming tablet that I absolutely love. And I do play games on that, but I also read on it. It has specific functions. And I have a Switch that I haven't touched in over a year, but I play my 3DS every day. That it is my now primary gaming device. My 3DS and my 2DS are my primary gaming devices. And I think there's something to be said for that. And I think not only are people rediscovering that, but new people are discovering the joy of this device. So you could see the resurgence in the prices online. Like these machines are going for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They're going for the same price as a Switch 2. They're more than their original price. I'm very lucky in that my new 3DS XL Galaxy Edition I got through a friend that I know online, and he was willing to sell it to me at a reasonable price. So I got it for only a couple $100. I feel very lucky about that. And I got my DS, pristine condition DS, a month ago for $90. I didn't need a charge. It didn't have a charger. I didn't need one. I've got like so many cables and chargers at this point. Uh, but still, $90. And that's a reason. And if you look at like pricecharting.com, that's a reasonable price for a 2DS in this day and age of good condition. So there is a renaissance of this thing. And one of the reasons there's a renaissance, which I'm going to talk about, is the homebrew community, modding. This thing has a wonderful, beautiful modding community. The 3DS and 2DS are very easy to mod. I've said this before, but I'm an idiot. And I was able to not only mod my new 3DS XL, I modded my 2DS as well. I did it myself. There's a guide at 3ds.hacks.guide, I believe, and I can link it. I should in the show notes. And it is such a well-written guide. It is available in multiple languages if you're curious, but it is such a well-written, elegant, efficient, beautiful guide that even a moron like myself can follow it. And I am shocked at how straightforward this thing was to hack. Now, yes, one of the reasons people hack it is for piracy. We are not going to talk about that. We're going to talk, and I'm going to go into a whole episode about the benefits of modding and homebrew. But this thing has like one of the things a modded 3DS has is an FTP client, file transfer protocol. So you can use an FTP client to wirelessly take files to and from the 3DS to your computer or laptop or whatever, rather than having to take out the physical SD card. Just stuff like that. But there are also ports, like someone made a Diablo port for the 3DS where you copy your own files that you from the game you own over the 3DS, and you could play Diablo on your 3DS. And there are other ports that do stuff like that. Apparently, there's a Fallout 2 one. I want to do an episode on ports. I'm learning more about ports as we go, and there are ports that use your legal game files, like Diablo, to play Diablo in the 3DS. And there are like all these other ports. Like I've never heard of the game Lego Island, but there's a port of that. There are all these apps and games that people make in the homebrew community that you can just download through a program called Universal Updater. Um, and it's through another app called Anemone, I believe, that you can get custom themes and you can have these themes cycle. So you can have random themes every time you turn it on or open it up. That's just some of the things you can do with a modded 3DS. And the homebrew community is astounding. I lurk on the 3DS homebrew server, the Nintendo homebrew server, excuse me. I just watch as these patient helpers help dozens of people every day to either fix their 3DS, to properly mod it, or to diagnose problems. And they are patient and they are honest and they are kind. And it is just wonderful to see. And I'm learning so much about how the 3DS works, how it's been modded. The homebrew community is maybe one of the best communities I've seen surrounding any kind of video game or piece of hardware because it is generally so positive. It is generally so helpful, patient, kind, like I've said before. It's just amazing to sit in that server and watch people be helped throughout the day. It just gives me some joy. It just gives me hope for humanity because it's such a positive place where people want to help each other and people want to get everyone's 3DS properly working. So I'm going to do episodes about modding in the homebrew community as well, but I wanted to touch on it here as a reason why I want to cover this machine. So I know I keep pausing. It's because I'm, hydrating myself a little bit. I apologize for that. But these are the main reasons I wanted to cover this wonderful little machine. It has an amazing library. It's got character and soul. It's insanely portable. I don't know if I covered the fact that it respects your time, but it respects your time because of its wonderful sleep mode. And it's got an amazing community surrounding it, even to this day, that has breathed new life into this machine that might not have been possible otherwise. So, those are the main reasons I want to cover the 3DS on this podcast. I love the 3DS. I want to talk about it more. And in future episodes, I'm going to focus a little more on some of these topics that I talked about today briefly. And I want to have interviews I want to have people, I want to talk to people from the homebrew community. I want to talk to people who develop games, their own homebrew games for these things. I want to talk to maybe the people who worked on the hardware. I want to talk to the people who behind this thing, not only about its past, but about its present and its future. So I'm very excited to make this podcast. I'm very excited to talk to you all about the 3DS, this little machine that I love so dearly. And I'm excited to see where this podcast goes, as long as Nintendo doesn't shut me down. I really hope they don't. I mean, it's advertising for them, really. It's advertising for a machine that they gave up on, sadly. I mean, can you imagine if they released another one? I'm going to ramble a bit. Can you imagine if they released a new 3DS today with backwards compatibility with all the old stuff, but newer hardware, newer, better screens, that sort of thing? Oh, I think it would sell better than the Switch 1 or 2, honestly. If it was priced reasonably, it would kill the secondary market, but I think that's okay. Secondary market's kind of crazy right now. But oh my God, just can you imagine if they made a new 3DS? Anyway, I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me. I've got more episodes planned. This is going to be an irregular podcast. It's not going to be weekly or monthly. It's going to be as I do it. So I'll try to do one at least once a month, but I can't promise that because one, I have two other podcasts and a full-time job. So we'll see how this goes. But I'm excited to talk to you all about the 3DS. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day and find your joy, find your joy out there. Take care.